Okay, we should make a disclaimer right here. Most of our videos are very child friendly, and most of our videos are very family friendly generally. Unfortunately, this is not one of them. If you clicked on this video assuming it would have been appropriate for your children, please click off. Like honestly, we are prefacing it with this. Please do not say that we brought lewdness into your protected space. We're giving you the heads up. This is a frank conversation about reactions, about things that we definitely do talk about in church.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are many curious Christians out there. And it's a conversation I think is worth having. Do you think it's worth having?
And if you are very sensitive to these topics, also click off, even if you're not a child.
Yeah, definitely click off. We're giving you a heads up. We're going to be talking about what the caption says. So, but if you're interested in this kind of content, let's go.
Thou shalt must missionary.
Hey XYZ fam! So in this episode, we're going to be talking about sex positions.
This video is going to be so cringy, but anyways, we're going to be looking on it from a biblical perspective because we've heard opinions scrolling on TikTok. A lot of people have a lot to say about a lot of things. So we are going to kind of do like a blind reaction because Xaundre has kind of never heard any of these arguments. So
I don't think that's fair to say. Okay. Alright, that's probably true. You never really. So I'm not a big consumer of social media and this. I watch adventure stuff and that's about it. But
Xaundre watch people jump off of things, fly go places, shoot animals.
Yeah, and catch fish. Yeah, but basically, I'm not very privy to the conversations that take place in that space, right? I also have not read any books that talk specifically about this kind of stuff. So I'm kind of aloof to what takes place in that space.
You know what happened in the streets.
I really genuinely don't know. So I want to see what some people are saying. I don't yet have a formed opinion.
You're going to inform your opinion in front of all these people on the internet.
Yeah. So if you're interested in this kind of content, come along with us! What happens when high school lovebirds get married?
They move to a new city and start a YouTube channel, of course.
Welcome to Adventures of XYZ. I'm Xaundre.
And I'm Zara.
I'm a doctor.
And I'm a lawyer.
But we both just really love sharing our faith and going on cool adventures.
So we created this channel to share our journey as we attempt to use biblical principles to navigate life.
And have a whole lot of fun doing it.
So,
come along with us! Alright, so let's start with a Google search. Christian sex positions.
You think you'll find that in Google?
I don't know. One way to find out. Google says safe search is off.
Pastor says doggy style is evil, claims the sex position even causes strokes.
Oh my goodness. No, not stroke. Not stroke.
Well, it caused some stroke.
Oh my goodness.
But it's not the stroke we're talking about.
Oh my gosh.
A Jamaican pastor has warned his flock to avoid doing the doggy style sex position, arguing that it's evil. He said that the Bible talks about oral sex and doggy style. You must be in the position of a dog or a beast. Sad to say, several women, this is what you like, he said. Too much laughter from some members of the congregation.
I'm sorry, I'm so confused. What's going on? On what premise?
He said in Ezekiel 23, look it up. Ezekiel 23 verse 20, God refers to the doggy style as detestable. So it is detestable. Therefore, pastors need to educate the folks on what the Bible says about these positions, he said.
Ezekiel who?
Ezekiel 23 verse 20.
She wanted to have sex with her lovers who had genitals like donkeys and who ejaculated like stallions.
Well, first of all, I would have to read more to find out what it is.
We can't say based on one verse what the context was and exactly what, and we really never read it before. So honestly, I did first message this.
So go up.
So let me start a little higher up. Babylonians came to her and her love bed and made her unclean with their sexual desire. However, after she had been dishonored by them, she rejected them in disgust. Stallions. Nothing here talks about a sex position. It literally says that the partners had genitals like donkeys and ejaculated like stallion. Wait, not stallion, stallion. Stallion does not ejaculate. But I mean, I don't even understand what that mean if I'm being honest. I know that's not talking about sex positions. This is like a exposition, a commentary.
But it is really a metaphor about the Israelites' relationships with other nations. So Jerusalem is portrayed in the prophetic image as one of two sisters, Oholiba, the other being Ohola, Samaria. These two were depicted as betrothed to God and unfaithful to him. A common theme in the Old Testament is the faithless desire of God's bride to return to Egypt. Remember, they returned to the prostitute ways where they were enslaved and where God had warned them never to return under any circumstance. The lewd image here is meant to be striking and to promote disgust at the lust of the Jews after the ways of their slavery in Egypt, as though Egypt had been the abusive lover of her adulterous youth. God's judgment is that Egypt, her lovers, along with Assyria and Babylon, will turn against her. She will turn to them for support and they will crush and oppress her as part of God's judgment for their rebellion against him. So,
I mean, we only studied this for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure we could go deeper, but from the moment I looked on the verse, like
it was not talking about sex positions.
From the moment I looked at it, I knew that it wasn't talking about it.
Let's see what else the internet has to say. Alright, so here's another one. So it says, maybe you are like my friend and want to know what Christian-friendly sex positions are. Here at Love Hope Adventure, I work hard to always share resources that won't trigger people who are fighting porn addiction. So the question is, what are Christian-friendly sex positions? There are no positions that are sinful, although some would disagree with me, hence the missionary position. So Christian-friendly sex positions aren't really around the type of actions you're doing with your spouse. Rather, it's more about the images and content to educate you about the positions. Oh, okay. I guess I get where she's coming from. Or why would something not be Christian-friendly?
Well, I guess because you say it depends on how you consume the content to learn about the position. But me personally, I don't think you ever consume no content for learn about the position, because when if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, you just go and experiment until something works.
Well, guys, as you know, Xaundre doesn't know any of the tea, so let me tell you what the Star said in their past, alright?
Okay, I don't read that, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, I just googled it. You just not Google, right? So, this man was talking to the pastor about the things that he wanted to do to his wife, blah, blah, blah. I quote, "She was lying down like a dead log. It was as if I was having Jerusalem with myself. After we got married, I talked to her and asked her if it was the way she and her boyfriend used to have sex. And she said it was not done regularly. She said that as a Christian, she doesn't think it is right to do what some men want their women to do. I told her we are married and we should try different positions because it's not a sin. Nothing I have said over the months have changed this woman. When I try to put her in different positions, she says I should leave her alone."
Can I say something before we continue? I don't know anything about this guy, and I don't know anything about the article prior to us reading that a while ago. But the way he speaks about his wife, it just does not sound like somebody who is trying to do right by her. He's talking about this woman. So here, as an XYZ fam, we have conversations about stuff that we really just don't talk about in church, but perhaps they're probably useful. So if you're interested in this kind of content, just go ahead.
Smash that like button.
Smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share it with somebody. And
share on your story too on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're watching.
Back to the video. And when I try to set her, like, that don't sound like somebody who is trying to.
It doesn't sound like a mutually pleasurable
experience. It sounds more like she's supposed to be serving him, and he's trying to show her how to serve him right,
and she
not do it. Like, I just feel like that approach to sex is not mutually beneficial.
It's also not godly.
And I don't think it's godly. I don't think it's coming from the place that God expects sex within marriage to be coming from, which is a really selfless place. And by virtue of my trying to please you and you're trying to please me, then we both end up satisfied.
And yeah, we don't have no bag of experience, guys. We're reading enough book here. All right.
Yeah. All right, let's pick up where we left off. We had to have a little change of location. All right, baby, you're up.
Yeah, so this one is not really a Google search, but one time I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw this lady and she was saying that oral sex is wrong.
Okay.
And anybody who thinks it's right as a Christian
in marriage, it's right.
Yeah, it's because their minds are perverted and they need cleansing. Also said, the Bible says that you should not the things of the world and not things of the world, and that nowhere in the Bible you see oral sex being spoken about.
I can't imagine the Bible would have listed explicitly, what should and should not take place in your bedroom. I think instead it's just the principles of selflessness and putting the other person first. That said, I'm not advocating for or against any particular way of interacting with your partner. Not saying it is right or wrong. If you notice, this is one of the few videos that we have not said this is right and this is wrong.
You won't get that here,
no,
okay?
Unfortunately, we can't give you guys that. What we can say though is the marriage bed is undefiled.
Yeah.
What happens behind closed doors in a marital union between two mutually consenting married people married to each other.
not somebody else's husband or somebody else's wife.
Two people who married to each other, in my worldview at least, is entirely up to them and what those people think, is appropriate. Now, if you see this differently, now is a good time for you to run into the comments and let us know. Or if you agree with that viewpoint, let us know that as well. We actually want to spark a discussion about this. We want to hear what your thoughts are. Don't attack us for what we believe or don't believe. Don't, try to throw down our throat or anybody else in chat. In the comments what is right or what's wrong, and then make this a whole scene. Just let's have a civil conversation about this in the comments below.
My issue is other people's obsession with what other married people do in their bedroom.
Inherently something is wrong with that.
It rubbed me wrong. It rubbed me wrong because why do you care? Why does it matter
to you?
Why are we having blog posts and preaching on pulpits and them things about what people do behind closed doors
within the context
of marriage? For sure, it just doesn't.
That's
to
true.
me, it doesn't add up. And trying to prescribe lists of things to do and things not to do. And the thing is, remember that when the whole concept of sex is loaded, a lot of things get people to be at a place. So if there are parts of it and there are components of it that make you uncomfortable and you deem as dirty based on your experiences, based on what you've been exposed to, based on your traumas, like that is going to be between the specific circumstance.
Having said all of that though, like, what implication does this really have for us spiritually? Like, does it really matter? Like, why was this even a relevant conversation? And I think the reason for its relevance is that it can stand in the way of a couple leveling up their relationship and an individual leveling up their spiritual relationship if this is something actively weighing on one's conscience and also causing like discrepancies in a marriage. Because one person believes that one thing is of God and the other person believes that that is not of God, and then there's this big debate about what you should and should not do from a biblical or from a religious perspective. But I think it really comes down more to a conversation between these two people and working based on your convictions. And all those people who came here saying, you're ready to hear what Xaundre and Zara think and what our list of good positions and list of bad positions are. Sorry to let you down, but get married and figure it out yourself.
I mean, if you want to listen, you can DM me, girls. I got you. In addition to that, I would also want to add that surrounding this conversation is the concept of having healthy sex conversations within our churches, within our youth groups, because it is important.
Yeah.
You know, people are a lot of young Christians are going into marriage and they've never had this discussion. They don't know. So when them say an article, or when a pastor comes and say this, or when the elder comes and say that, you are not guided. You have no form of direction, and because there is not an open forum for you to have these discussions, then you're blind and you have to just listen to what the person has to say.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I've looked. There are no verses that tell you thou shalt not backshot. Thou shalt must missionary. It never says so. It never says so. It never says so. You see thou shalt must missionary. Tell me, Xaundre, where you see thou shalt always missionary?
So there was actually a place in, I think it was in Songs of Solomon, where Solomon described a particular sex position, and I believe that in that book, the act of marriage, the act of marriage, he actually used that description as a prescription of how to kind of settle in and probably try your first time, like an actual explanation of what would be the most natural way for you to proceed, just based on the biomechanics of how you know, when you're just starting and there's a lot of ice to break. But I don't see where that one description precludes all variations.
Right.
You know, I've never gotten the impression that any particular variation is precluded.
Yeah.
And I use variation loosely. If you want to read through that, you can read through that.
In other words, thou shalt must missionary is not in scripture.
Basically.
Unpopular opinion, I think missionary is chef's kiss. Oh my gosh, my mother watches this.
Alright, but guys, we're going to end the video right here before we get ourselves in trouble. But we want to say that it's very important for Christian couples to have good, healthy conversations about sex, because between sex and money, these are two things that tend to break up a lot of marriages, and we want to encourage open, honest conversations about these things, and not only open up to give general advice like this, but hopefully when you slide into the DMs, we can have more one-on-one conversations. And obviously we're not here trying to counsel anybody.
No.
But you know, there are certain depths to which this conversation can go that we won't do justice to it by just giving broad sweeping answers.
Just to preserve all our viewership.
Yeah.
But also, we want to continue conversations like these, to continue to open the space, to allow those people who haven't spoken about these things to start getting comfortable, because it's also important, and sex is not supposed to be as taboo as it is in a lot of circles.
Yeah. So that's all from us for this episode. So we'll see you next time
on Adventures of XYZ. Bye guys.